welcome to this explainer. We're diving right into a radical, ancient blueprint for destroying the modern anxiety that plagues so many of us. We're going to look at a profound concept that suggests the absolute key to peace isn't actually found anywhere in the physical world around us, but rather by shifting our focus from the ground beneath us straight up to the infinite sky above. Think about it for a second. Why are we just so consumed by daily stress? Like, why do our jobs, our bank accounts, or our desperate need for social validation keep us tossing and turning all night? What if the absolute secret to ending all that daily anxiety has literally been hiding in ancient deserts and battlefields this whole time? Looking back at these historical accounts and ancient spiritual wisdom might just hold the ultimate cure to this modern exhaustion we all feel. So this brings us to a really fascinating concept from our sources, the heavenly human. Essentially, this is defined as a person whose heart and absolute reliance are anchored entirely in the heavens. By making this fundamental shift, they literally free themselves from the heavy, anxiety-inducing gravity of earthly attachments. It's all about finding this profound, unshakable peace by detaching from horizontal earthly control, the things we constantly try to micromanage, and instead establishing a vertical, divine connection. Look at the stark contrast here. On one side, you've got earthly attachments. That's the endless stress over a job you think you missed out on, checking your bank account every 5 minutes, or just staring blankly into the glow of endless screens. This gravity of the earth literally suffocates the human soul. But on the flip side, heavenly connections bring profound peace, trust in divine timing, and absolute certainty. The ancient wisdom emphasizes that your provision, like that specific job you didn't get, was already decreed in the heavens before you were even born. Section 1. Trust in the barren desert. The ultimate test of isolation. Let's look at our first historical case study and see how this mindset actually manifests in the real world. We're focusing on the story of Hajar, who, according to historical accounts, was left entirely alone in a barren, waterless valley in Mecca with her infant son, Ismail. When she realized that her husband, the prophet Abraham, was leaving them in this terrifying place as a divine command, her earthly panic instantly transformed into heavenly certainty. Standing in the middle of a desert that basically promised certain death, she uttered this powerful realization of absolute faith. She said, "If this is God's command, He will not abandon us." Now, she didn't just sit there in the sand waiting for magic to happen. The reality was a desperate, agonizing physical struggle. Imagine the sheer terror of being a mother stranded in a scorching valley, watching your infant cry from thirst. She ran to Mount Safa looking for water, then sprinted all the way across the rocky valley to Mount Marwa. She repeated this breathless sprint 7 times under a blazing sun. It perfectly highlights the intense, beautiful contrast between her earthly desperation as a mother and her unwavering spiritual trust. And what happens next is absolutely crucial. The physical solution didn't actually come directly from her frantic running. Instead, divine intervention happened. The angel Jibril struck the earth and pure water sprang from right beneath the fragile infant's heels. This is the well of Zamzam. It reveals a profound spiritual secret. True relief comes from above when we are completely vulnerable, proving that provision is a heavenly decree, not just the mathematical result of our exhausting earthly efforts. Moving to Section 2, Courage Against Impossible Giants, Facing Fear with Absolute Certainty. Let's pivot to our second case study to see an entirely different manifestation of this heavenly connection. This time, we're looking at a young Ali bin Abi Talib facing the unbeatable giant Amr bin Wood at the Battle of the Trench. Now, Amr was a brutal giant who absolutely terrified seasoned warriors. Nobody dared cross him, but Ali stepped forward without a hint of hesitation. Facing this impossible opponent, Ali delivered a fearless roar. "I am the one my mother named Haydara," meaning the lion. His complete detachment from the fear of death, born from pure heavenly reliance, stripped away all his earthly anxiety and made him an unstoppable force. We see this exact same heavenly connection on display again later at the Battle of Khyber. Ali's earthly armor had completely shattered during a brutal combat situation. But instead of panicking or retreating, he was given inexplicable strength to literally rip off a massive, supposedly indestructible fortress gate with his bare hands, and he used the door itself as a shield. The message here is incredibly clear. When our earthly means and plans shatter, heavenly strength takes over. Section 3.
The secret to ending anxiety, becoming a heavenly human today. So, how do we actually bridge these ancient cinematic struggles to our very real, everyday modern psychological battles? How do we use this perspective to fight today's anxiety and endless worry?
You really have to audit your own life right now. Are your ties to the earth pulling you down into depression and worry? Are you suffocating your soul staring at a glowing rectangle at 2 a.m., stressing over an unanswered email, a drop in follower count, or a job that just wasn't meant for you anyway? The root cause of our anxiety is that we're far too tied to the earth, desperately expecting earthly things to fill a void they were never designed to fill.
So, how do we break free from this earthly gravity? The sources give us a highly actionable blueprint. First, you've got to disconnect from screens and earthly noise at night to let your mind breathe. Second, wake up before dawn in absolute solitude. Third, use that quiet time to call upon the divine name El Jabbar, the restorer, to fix your brokenness. And finally, deeply internalize that your worldly provision is already decreed from the heavens, so there's absolutely no need to panic about tomorrow.
Think about the anecdote of the simple street cleaner. Imagine finding this man late at night in a dark, completely empty mosque far away from the bustling, judging crowds of the city. He's raising his hands in quiet prayer, experiencing an immense peace that billionaires literally cannot buy. It just perfectly illustrates the beautiful contrast between earthly crowds and heavenly solitude. Your inner soul is suffocating from the gravity of the earth. It desperately needs the light of the heavens to survive. Finally, Section 4. Answering the final questions, the ultimate perspective shift. Let's look at a realization that will completely and abruptly shift your entire life's perspective away from daily anxieties. Think about the number 60. We typically live 60, maybe 70 years on this earth. And what do we do with them? We literally run ourselves into the ground stressing over careers, refreshing our bank accounts, and agonizing over our social status until we are just entirely burned out and hollow. But think about it. We endure those decades of immense stress just to answer a mere 7 questions at the very end. 7 simple questions in the grave about who our Lord was, our religion, our prophet, and how we spent our youth and our wealth. That's it. Decades of exhausting earthly anxiety, all boiling down to just 7 ultimate questions about our spiritual reality. So, I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder today. When the giant of modern anxiety stands before you, when the pressures of the daily world feel like a barren, inescapable desert, will you remain chained to the anxieties of the earth, looking to the dirt for a shield? Or will you finally open the door to the sky and become a heavenly human?